So people have been asking me, why are there so many more pitcher injuries in baseball? I mean, we've always had guys getting Tommy John surgeries, shoulder injuries, and things like that. But now we're even seeing guys have serious oblique strains and missing several weeks at a time. And more guys are getting shut down for minor injuries, minor arm injuries, and things. And I wanted to talk about why I think that there are so many more injuries today than there was even 10 years ago. And I think it also kind of has to do with the fact that pitching has kind of become boring, and pitching is not so much of an art form anymore. It's very predictable. It's high fastballs up in the zone, four-seam fastballs at 97, and then hard sliders at 90, away to righties and in on lefties. That's kind of the formula, and it's a predictable formula. And the way to obviously work into that formula is to throw the ball harder. Focus on getting your velocity up. Well, one of the things that happens when you throw a baseball 98 miles an hour is the amount of stress that puts on your elbow, on your shoulder, on your oblique to get the kind of torque and that's necessary to throw the ball that hard, and the kind of stress and high intensity pitches that it puts on your arm to be constantly throwing the ball in the upper 90s and then snapping off hard sliders, both does damage to your body and is boring to watch. Both of those things are true. Now, I understand why pitchers want to do this, because hitting 98 miles an hour up in the strike zone is very difficult to do. And then when you also have the fact that you're having to react to 91 miles an hour sliders away, it's very difficult to hit. The problem is it's not sustainable for most pitchers to be able to do. Now, I understand you have Max Scherzer. He can do it. He can do it and stay relatively healthy. There are certain guys that can be power pitchers that can throw mid to upper 90s consistently with hard breaking stuff and be effective and stay on the field. It's difficult to do, and it's rare. You know, you don't see as many Andy Pettitts, Mike Messinas, Zach Greinke's. There's not that many guys in that category that can pitch with 90, 91 miles an hour with some off-speed pitches, change speeds, locate, get into the mind of the hitter, and really take pitching as more of a craft as opposed to some sort of formula where it's like, you know, I can tell you it's either going to be a fastball or a slider, and you're going to see it up in the zone, fastballs, sliders low and away. It's like, even if you know that that's coming, that's still really hard to hit. It's not that hard to hit if you know you're getting a 91 mile an hour fastball, you know, in a certain location. So I think that we've really kind of incentivized pitchers to throw the ball hard, focus on velocity, and that's kind of, you know, what these younger guys are learning to do, as opposed to learning that pitching is actually an art. You know, a guy like CC Sabathia, who threw 98 miles an hour, was a power pitcher for most of his career, and a very effective one, and a very durable one. You know, he got into his mid to late 30s and he didn't throw 98 anymore. If he wanted to stay on the field and pitch, he actually had to learn how to pitch. He had to learn how to pitch with 91 to 93 and diminished stuff. And he was able to do it. He was actually a very effective pitcher from 2016 to 2018, and he didn't throw that hard anymore. Now, you can actually get guys out at younger ages throwing 90, low 90s with, you know, you don't have a 91 mile an hour slider. And it doesn't have to take you until you're 15-year big league veteran to learn how to do those things. It's interesting. Mike Messina won 20 games in 2008. Now, I know wins aren't important, but he had a low ERA. He you know, prevented runs, over 200 innings in 2008. And he had an 87 mile an hour average fastball velocity, which is pretty incredible, the fact that he was that successful doing that. Zach Greinke right now has an 88 mile an hour fastball average. He's also a very effective pitcher. You know, you don't need to throw that hard in order to be effective at the big league level, and you're going to stay on the field more often. Mike Messina was a very durable pitcher. Zach Greinke's been very durable over the course of his career. And, you know, I think it was Ron Guidry who said that when he first came up, his focus was, okay, I need to be throwing 95 miles an hour. That's how I need to get outs. And he said over the course of his career, as he learned how to pitch, as he learned how to be more effective, he was actually able to take a little bit off and be throwing in the low 90s to start out the game. This is something Verlander used to do and still does. He'd have his low 90s fastball, mid 90s, and then later on in the game, he could reach back for a little bit something extra. You don't have to throw 97 miles per hour in order to get guys out at the big league level. If you're smart and you learn how to pitch, you take it as an art form, you can be successful at the big league level getting guys out, and you're going to stay on the field because you're not putting that much pressure. You don't need that much torque. Those high intensity pitches, you don't have as many of those because you can throw the ball 92. You don't have to throw it 98. Doesn't mean you don't throw that hard all the time. You can reach back for something extra later in the game if you need to. But I think, those are kind of the two big things. Injuries, you're going to prevent injuries by not focusing so much on throwing as hard as you can every single pitch. And the other thing is it's more interesting. It's not interesting to just watch a game and see, okay, this guy throws 98, he's going to throw fastballs up in the zone, then he's going to go breaking ball away at 91. That's not interesting. You want to see guys work hitters. You want to see them get into the head of the hitter. That's much more interesting baseball. So that's it for today. Talk to you guys tomorrow.